A very warm welcome to the Phoenix Mindset Podcast. A podcast that's all about unfolding your wings and flying higher and happier than ever before. My name is Sonja Piontek, and I'm with a long-term friend today, George Kaingob from Namibia. George is a really inspiring person, and you will soon hear and understand why I'm saying this. George is simply amazing. And if there's one thing George can teach us and share with us, it is that no matter where you're coming from, life gives us all the opportunity and the possibilities to achieve whatever we want to achieve. I'm touched by George's story, and I'm so happy that he's sharing it with us today. So I would love to invite you to now dive into the discussion with George and learn all about this beautiful, amazing, and very inspiring young man. A very warm welcome to George Kaingob, a close friend and a person that has deeply inspired me over the years. Welcome, George.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here with you.
If you could see where we're sitting, we're at Okapuka Ranch in Namibia, sitting on a terrace, and about 15 meters away from us are some ostriches. And this is your home, George.
Yes, this is my home. That is our house chickens.
Pretty big house chickens.
Yes, very big chickens of ours, as well as some warthogs in the back. So it's always good to be at the house. So that's what most people say, home is where the heart is. So
home is definitely where the heart is.
Yes.
George, we met about 10 years ago here in Namibia, and I am deeply impressed by your life story. You were even generous enough to share your story in my recent National Geographic book that I wrote last year together with my photographer friend Caroline. And your life story is very touching. So you come from a very humble background, and basically you have achieved a lot in your life. And what you want to share with the world is that no matter where you come from, you can achieve anything you want.
Yes, that's what I actually believed, and that's what I've been doing for the past times. And as you said, it does not matter where you are coming from. So it's just have to forget what happened in the past and always try to have what you never had, so a kind of a better future, I would say. Because growing up was nice at some point, and some point it was tough.
Yeah, and I think maybe allow me to interrupt you here briefly. When you say it was tough, I don't think people in the West can imagine what tough means. You went to bed hungry almost every second night. You really come from, and allow me to say that, from a very poor family background. Poor in a monetary sense, but not in values and not in beliefs.
Yes, we had few nights or even days where we would go to school without any lunch money. We would not have breakfast. Our meal was mostly, we call it late lunch dinner.
Oh, wow. So that's one combined meal.
That's one combined meal.
And what was it?
It was, normally our meal was just porridge with some meat or with sour milk. Mm-hmm. So that was the main dish.
And when you say it was a late breakfast, lunch, dinner, you really just had one meal a day?
So that was just one meal a day. So you would come home from school, and then whatever mom has cooked, that is what you would eat. And if there's nothing left, then that's how you're going to sleep until the next day, lunchtime.
So, and yet now you lead a relatively good life. You've really worked your way up. You've become an international tour guide here in Namibia. You hold a management position here at the lodge. You can be extremely proud of yourself. Looking at your smile, I can see that you are. How did you get to where you are today? How did you believe in yourself?
I'm proud of what I've been or what I've achieved. And at the moment, it's actually not where I want to stop right now.
Very good.
I'm still planning on going forward.
Very good.
And the thing is, as we were growing up, my oldest brother was kind of like my father.
Mm-hmm.
And he dropped out of school, and then he was taking care of me, my sister, and my younger brother.
And you have quite a few siblings.
We are about enough. We are 16 kids, but not all of us were staying with my mom at that moment. We were like 8 or 9 of us. But my oldest brother was like my father figure.
Yes.
And he supported me. He was always standing on my side, and he was telling me. And as I was growing up, I started realizing that this is not the life that a normal person should live. You should not be able to go to school without any lunch or without any shoes, bare feet.
Yeah, and freezing at night.
Freezing at night and extremely hot in the day. And then I got an opportunity after I was done with school from my father.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, like, okay, George, I've got a position for you on Okapuka Ranch. Would you like to be my assistant?
So he was working at the Okapuka Ranch, at the lodge at the time?
Yes, he was working at the lodge at the time. And then he said, like, okay, now can you at least be an assistant? Because my mom was not at the moment having a stable job. She was just working few days in a week.
So you needed the money also to support your siblings?
To support mostly my younger brother and my sister. The other siblings of mine were older than me, so as I was growing older, I started taking the role of my older brother, of taking care of my younger siblings,
yes,
as well as my mom. And at some point, I kind of felt like I was the man of the house. It's just how you take everything in, what the world throws at you. It's actually up to you and to decide what you want to do with your life.
That's a very, very true thing that you're saying, because you could have just given up and felt overwhelmed, but you said, okay, I have this responsibility and I want to make a better life for myself and for my family. And
yes.
I think that's where your journey and your career path started, and you've come a long way. So I'm very excited that you can share your story also with this audience, because it's so inspiring to see that you didn't just say, hey, I didn't have the opportunity. You were brought up in poverty in a country that doesn't open many doors for you, but you opened those doors for yourself.
Yes, I've opened the doors for myself. And once I got my job in Okapuka, I started as a barman, working in the bar. And that's where I started knowing different people. And I was always interested in knowing what the person's culture is.
Okay.
So everyone I would meet, I was always interested in asking them what their culture is, what they do, and how they would kind of solve if they have a difficult situation in their own backgrounds, I would say.
So you were always asking questions, really wanting to learn more.
Yes, I was always asking questions. I was always trying to figure out, how is that person different from me? How did that person reach that point? And I was like, okay, let me challenge myself. Let me also take my culture. Let me not leave anyone behind and try and take my sister, my brother, as well as my mom, and try and see whether we can change our way of living was the first one. And the thing is also, my mother is very deeply in traditional.
So what cultural background is your mom?
My mom is a Damaranama.
A Damaranama here in Namibia.
Here in Namibia. It's one of the oldest tribes in Namibia as well. It's part of the Kwekwe group. So in our culture, you hear the people are speaking with the click languages.
Can you say a few words? Maybe just quickly introduce yourself in your click language, because it's so beautiful to listen to.
So did I get George? Did I get Namibia? Ha. Did I get Namibia? Gay. So neda Namibia ha oda ge 8 mara season basen. So die taba da senda gira kucha da gira kada kami. Khaida ge ni sisa noch steeds undoma. Uni sida ge klima. Has kose da ge noch steeds ni dita.
Beautiful. What did you just say?
So what I just said is I introduced myself and I said I'm from Namibia, and telling a story about myself, and I would not stop trying. I would keep on trying. And at this point, I'm still aiming for something higher than what I'm doing.
And you will fly very high.
Yes.
I know it. And having known you for 10 years, how you've changed in those 10 years, what you've achieved in those 10 years. So maybe do share with us. So you were a barman, and obviously that was not enough for George, who had dreams and who had visions and who really tried to understand what had brought people to their positions and to where they were. So what happened next?
So as I was a barman, I always was interested in the nature itself. And I asked one of my general managers at the lodge, and I said, is it possible if I can try out for the game drives?
So game drive is basically going into the bush to see the wild animals,
Yes.
the giraffes and the zebras.
Yes, and so my general manager was like kind enough, and he said, okay, we're going to try and train you.
Oh, nice.
So we'll send you out, and then you can see what you can do. And then I got some books from old college.
Let me quickly stop you before you say how you did it. The fact that you asked was one big step to a new future, because you could have just stood behind that bar and waited for them to approach you. But you love nature. You love the safari. So you said, you approached your general manager and you said, I would love to do that. Can you give me a chance? So that was a very, very big learning, to just get up and say, I'll ask for it. And yes, he could have said no, but he said yes.
Yes.
And then you went out and then you bought all the books.
Yeah, I bought some books. And then also with my position as the barman, I actually got some advices from old tour guides. I was always this people's person, I would say. So
Well, you connect very quickly with
Yes.
people. And people like you because you have an open heart and an open smile.
Yes. That's right.
Yes, very
Yes.
clearly, yes.
And with these guide friends of mine, so I'm like, okay, if you would like to learn, I've got some old books that I'm not using at home, and can I bring you those books? And I said, okay, thank you, that would be lovely. So I got these different books, started reading about the wildlife.
And you spend a lot of time. You didn't just read a bit. You
No.
really studied.
I studied very
hard. Yes.
Yes, and as I was going out, I was always trying to challenge myself. It's always a good feeling if you have got guests on your car which are always asking you these questions. It's like helping you to bring out your knowledge.
And
It's
you have
always
a lot of it. I seriously have not met many people that have that deep a knowledge and appreciation and love for the animals that you have.
Yes, and it's always feeling so good to share my knowledge with the next person.
And to see how excited they get.
Yes, and to see how excited they get. It's something that is kind of, how would I say, it's priceless. So
It's priceless.
It's
a
a good feeling.
Yeah, that you can also share something about your country with tourists, with guests that come.
Yes, that is actually also one of the biggest aim.
Yeah.
It's to share my country, to share my culture, to show the people where I come from and what I do and what my culture can provide to the open, I would say, the whole world. And I'm always looking forward not to let my roots die.
Yeah, your roots are so important. They're important
Yes.
for all of us. And it's beautiful how you are so aware of your roots and so proud of your roots.
Yes, I'm very proud of my roots, and I would like to share them with everyone.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful that you also don't see the negative part of your roots, that you grew up in poverty. No, you see the positivity, your culture, your beautiful culture, what your parents gave you, the community sense, the love you got from your parents, the love you got from your brothers and sisters, the responsibility for each other. And this is something, you don't look at the negative, you always look at the positive, and that's very, very good.
Yes, you always look at, I from my side, I always look at the positive.
Yeah.
So the negative, I can always go past it. So I just say, okay, I don't look that side. Let me just continue with the positive side. I always try to bring something back to our community.
Yeah, and you really do.
Yes.
So we met 10 years ago during a BMW off-road tour that I was running from BMW side, and you had worked your way up from barman. You had a very quick period at the gate as well, which you thought was so boring. And seriously,
just definitely boring.
So George, you're not the kind of guy that just sits at a gate and watches people. So gateman, barman, then you worked your way up to the safari guide,
Yes.
and then you were in your spare time helping the BMW guys look after their cars, and you became a co-instructor, the official co-instructor for the international BMW tours.
Yeah, how that actually happened. It's kind of interesting. So
Yes, do share it, please.
I would get 1 or 2 days off from my
Your normal work.
From my
Yeah.
normal work, and I was always interested in the BMW program which was running, and
And they were running here from Okapuka.
they were running
Yeah.
it here from Okapuka. So Okapuka was the base of BMW Driving Experience, and on my off day I would always ask the owner of the farm whether I can come and join in just to clean the cars.
So
them
on your
inside.
off days, you
Yes.
worked for free with the cars.
Yes, with the cars. And as a young man, you like the cars
Yes.
because it's a BMW. And as I was doing this voluntarily, I was like helping the mechanics as well. And I was eager. I was always asking, what does this do? Can I see how this works?
So
Can I do
continuous
this?
learning process.
Yes, it was a learning process for me as well.
It was learning, but you also gave a lot. You helped them a lot.
Yes,
and you
I
didn't
helped them.
expect any money,
No.
nothing. You just did it in your spare time
Yes.
because you wanted to broaden your horizon.
Yes.
And that's what I love about you. You don't just sit there and say, okay, I've got a day off now. I'm just going to go drink a beer. No. You said, I want to grow. This is where I can grow next.
Yes, and as I was doing that, the owner of Okapuka Ranch was kind enough and he said, okay, we're going to send you on the 8-day tour with the BMW guys so you can follow the routes and see how it goes. And you are going as technical support, so you
But
just
that
go as
means a
backup.
lot of trust. I mean, from someone who had only started a few years before
Yes.
that as the gateman, as the barman, to then be sent on an international tour as the support guy, and you worked your way up because I know the team very well, and they fell in love with you as a person, but also with your skills. And I've seen you drive, I've seen you repair cars, I've seen you work with the guests, I've seen you interact with guests. You are a huge asset to these tours.
Yes.
Yes.
I would say yes. And as I said, I like sharing. I like sharing my thoughts. I like sharing everything. And that's maybe why the guys with the BMW fell in love with me.
Yes.
With
And they really
my company, with what I could give them.
Yeah, and you contributed a lot.
Yes. And as I was contributing, I was also learning. Because I was not only learning from one person, I was learning from different kind of people, and all that knowledge I was using it for my progress. So just to be able to go forward, and I'd say it was also a good feeling for me to share what I have and what
Totally.
I can offer.
No, and we've our business relationship has developed as well. So I left BMW 4 years ago, and I set up a travel agency, a small boutique travel agency in Singapore and Munich, and we've run some tours together.
Yes,
and all I can say is I trust you 1000%. I see how my guests love you, how they appreciate your being there, and how much you can give. And it's so beautiful to see that someone with such a challenging start to life has come such a long way and is doing so well for himself. And you now have your own little business also with a little transport company,
Yes.
with your first own vehicle. And it's just beautiful to see you thrive.
It is beautiful. But as I said, it's not the stop. It's just
the beginning.
I'm going further. As I'm saying, I'm going further. It's I have this. It has been a long time plan. I was just having it in my head. I'm planning to give back to my community.
That's so beautiful. So it's not about you. It's
not
really about
only
your
about me,
community.
yes.
So what is your dream? What is your vision?
My vision is in Katutura. I stay in a kind of like, I would say, I would not call it poor, but less income community.
And it's near Windhoek. It's called Katutura,
it's
near Windhoek.
Near Windhoek. It's like the outskirts of Windhoek, a small township. And I grew up there, and I've seen how I've been growing up, no food and stuff. And now what I'm planning to do is I would like to target small kindergartens and give them not much, but at least some lunch So that is my idea, just to provide some food for them, because you do not know where they are coming from, how they're sleeping.
And how difficult it is to study with an empty stomach.
Yes.
And something we talked about 2 weeks ago was also that once people are fed, you don't want to give them money. You really just want to help them grow and give them perspective. So, I mean, the basic is kids especially, need some food in their stomach.
Yes,
if they don't have food in their stomach, no matter how much you want to mentor and guide them, it won't work. So the first thing is food in their stomach. And then the second thing is you want to be their guide, their support to really show them that they can make it into a brighter future.
That is my whole idea. That is my thought that I've been having, and I've been doing researches on how I can do it, and I've approached like 2 or 3 kindergartens.
Okay.
Just waiting once the principals are back, then we'll have sit down and talk. It's not much that I'm gonna provide. It's just lunch for the small kids, because as I said, you never know how a person sleeps and what they do back home, but I would just like to give back to the community, just to give them a bit of support with food.
And to see that someone who had a similar childhood has become so successful and has really grown and beaten the odds. And one thing that we haven't mentioned here yet, I'm from Germany, and I'm overwhelmed to see and to know that George actually speaks perfect German. And that's another thing. You did not grow up in an international kindergarten at an international school with a fancy nanny. No, you taught yourself. Because there's a lot of tourists that come to Namibia that are German, and you just were smart enough to see, if I learned to speak German, my chances are going to be even better. How did you do it? I mean, German is really a tough language to learn.
It's a tough language. I would say it's a very tough language to learn.
Yes.
But I said it's a language. It's something a person can learn.
Yes.
It's learnable. So why is someone able to speak some other languages? Why am I able to speak English? Why am I able to speak Afrikaans? But I cannot speak German. So as I was working in this tourism industry, it was also kind of like a light bulb going off in my head. Like, there's people that can help me with the language.
Yeah.
There's someone that can support me with the language. And I just said, okay, let me try the German language.
Wow.
My first words were asking the guest, how do you say good morning in German? How do you say good night? I didn't learn it by writing it.
Just by hearing it.
By hearing it, yes. I had a good chance that one of the owner's son's girlfriend, he bought a book for me.
Oh, nice.
Deutsch in 30 Tage.
German in 30 days. Well, if only you could learn German in 30 days.
And this book came with a CD player. And I was always listening to the CD player.
Oh,
so
wow.
Always listening to these small dialogues.
Good morning, my name is...
Yes. My name is... And I come from here, and I'm...
So this is how you started to learn the language?
This is how I started learning language. And I was always asking the guest, what does this word mean? So I would say a word in English, and then I would always ask them, what does it mean in German?
That's a very important lesson here. You did not just sit there and wait for things to happen. You asked for help, and you didn't ask for big things. You didn't say, can you invite me to Germany? Can you pay for my course? No, you just did it one little step at a time. You asked, what does good morning mean in German? What does... can I please have a glass of water mean? So little things that people were happy to help you with, but you continuously reached out to people and said, can you please help me? Because you were on a mission.
Yes, I was on a mission. I'm still on a mission. And now I've got the finances, and I've got also a bit of support from Sonia.
I love to support you. You have become such a close friend and such a deep inspiration. And let me just say that here, the book, the National Geographic book, SONNENGEFLÜSTER, that was launched a few months ago, the amount of people that have approached me and said, thank you for including George's story in this book. It is so inspiring. It has made me cry. It has made me realize what is possible. You have touched so many people. Because it's easy to say I can achieve anything if you come from a rich, fancy Western background with fancy schools and great university degree. That's a lot easier. But for them to see how you just say, I have the upbringing I have the background I have, and I just make the best out of it, and I just make my way and work my way up. That's deeply, deeply inspiring.
It is hard at some points.
Yes.
Now, at some points, you, as a person, you have these expectations, you have this, like, okay, why am I not getting this? You have to kind of switch, you have to kind of like override that.
Obviously, in your path, you've had setbacks, you've had moments where you were frustrated, you've had moments where you were disappointed. How did you overcome the difficult parts?
So the difficult parts, overcoming them, I would always go back to my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
He's staying in the north, just close to Etosha.
Okay.
And what we would do, it's because the love of nature from me comes from his side.
Okay.
So as I was growing older and as I started knowing them, I was always visiting them, and then he would always take me out in the field. So for me to overcome anything, if I have got bigger problems, I would always go back to the nature.
Okay, beautiful.
So you don't need to do a lot. It's just sit under a tree and then just try and soak everything in, try and calm everything down. And always have this thought in your mind what you're doing and where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So if once you know where you're coming from, and nobody wants to go back there.
Yeah.
And we are like, I'm always pushing myself and saying, I can do better.
Tomorrow will be a better day.
Yes, tomorrow will be a better day. Tomorrow the sun shines and everything is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
This is also for my brother, my youngest brothers. I'm always telling them, doesn't matter how tough it is, you always have to look at the positive side.
Definitely, and believe in the future, and believe in yourself. And as you said, sometimes the times are tough and sometimes the situation is challenging, but find something that helps you overcome it. For you, it is definitely going out into nature. For me, it's actually very similar. If I have a challenging situation, for me, it helps me a lot to go into the mountains. And I think you're the more patient person, so you can sit under a tree for many hours. I don't think that would help me so much. But it's beautiful that you have found the thing that really helps you calm down and contemplate and really find a solution in challenging times.
Yes, nature is kind of the best healing medicine.
Yeah.
If you just go
nature
in the nature,
is beautiful.
It is healing. I have experienced, I've seen it. Doesn't matter how stressed you wake up in the morning, you just come. If you get a chance, you take a car, you go in the wild. After half an hour, you start feeling already in your body that everything is becoming normal, everything is becoming back,
And you also actually have quite a deep knowledge about healing plants. I mean, we were talking about nature is healing on a mental level, but also physically. You have a lot of deep knowledge about the different trees, the different roots, the leaves, and how they can help support health and how they can help you overcome all sorts of diseases.
As I said, so growing up, I went always to my uncle, and he's like a bushman. So it's like a person that stays in the bushes.
Okay, what culture is he from?
He's from the Kaingob.
From the
Kaingob.
Oh, okay. Allow me to not repeat that.
Kaingob is similar with the bushman.
Okay, so with the bushman,
yeah. The Sun people, and they are known to be always in the wild, and they would always get this medicine.
So deep knowledge.
So really deep knowledge. And as I was going out with him, he would always say, okay, George, you know this tree, you can break the bark off and then you can drink it if you have got stomach problem. Then he would say, okay, if you dig this root, you can get water, you can get food from here. And then my most favorite one is for flu. It's called the wild sage.
Wild sage, okay.
Yes. And you just make tea out of it. So we call it the better boss. It's a bitter bush.
The better boss.
Yeah,
that's Afrikaans.
Yes, Afrikaans. You make tea out of this bush. It's always green. It's green the whole year through.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And you make the tea out of the bush. You drink from the tea. You can also steam yourself with the plant.
Okay.
And that is for a flu.
And it goes away
It goes
quickly.
away within 2 or 3 days. And you're fine.
Wow.
Again. Yes.
Wow.
And then we have got like different plants for different kind of sicknesses. So you have got for headache, you can use the pod of a camel thorn tree, you can make part of it, roast it, and then you can put it under the tongue.
And then that heals.
It helps with the headaches, for stomach.
So there are a lot of very potent plants out there. if only more people would know about it.
Yes, and on my safaris as well, I always use this time to show the guest also what kind of plants which are around here and which ones were used in the beginning before the pharmacists came and doctors came.
And it's beautiful because you share so much knowledge about your country, the animals, the plants, the healing methods. So what's your favorite animal?
Giraffe.
Giraffe. Why is that?
It took me a bit longer to say because I was thinking of a leopard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Giraffe, it's because everyone likes it. A leopard, why I like a leopard is it's a solitary animal. It stays by himself.
Yeah.
So he has to hunt for himself. He has to look after himself. And I always put myself kind of like as in a part of a leopard.
Yeah, and you sometimes are fighting on your own. And when I look at all your brothers and sisters, I've met a few of them, you are different. You have much more drive. You are definitely the big cat that leads the pack, but that also has chosen his own path and really makes for a better future. That smile, if only we could put it in words. No, you are different. Yeah. You're unique. You really are unique.
So that's a reason why I've chosen the leopard.
And the giraffe?
And the giraffe, it's loved by everyone.
Yeah.
No. Everyone comes, they're always eager, they're always excited, and they always want to find out more about the giraffe. Giraffe, people say he does not make a sound. But he does make a sound, which is just a bit difficult for a human ear to hear it.
Can you hear it?
No, you cannot
not really.
hear
Okay.
it. No. A giraffe, it's also like a herd animal, so he would always also take care of the herd, and that's why I'm also going.
So you're kind of a mix between the leopard that goes his own path and really strives for himself, but you're also like the giraffe that looks after your people, your community.
My community, yeah.
And you look after a lot more than your siblings. You have a, let's say, extended family.
I have a quite extended family because I come from two backgrounds. I have two different tribal backgrounds. My father is from the Herero, and which are the Bantu descendants, and my mother is from the Kwekwe. So I've got two big different cultures, which I'm in the middle of it. And as everyone is growing up, we mostly tend to go to my mother's side. To a mother's side.
To the Kwekwe's.
Yes, to the Kwekwe's, and that's why I speak fluently my mother's language.
So how many languages do you speak? Let's say you speak English,
yes.
You speak German, you speak Afrikaans, you speak
Damara,
and
Herero. Yes.
And Damara is the Khoikhoi language.
Damara is the Khoikhoi language.
Okay, so 5 languages fluently. Well, I mean, the good thing is you already knew 4 languages when you decided that German as number 5 would be
a bonus.
An easy one to learn in 30 days. I mean, obviously it takes a bit longer.
It takes longer.
But it's beautiful to see that you have so many different cultural influences in your life, but also that you can combine them so beautifully.
Combining them at some point was not that easy in the beginning. Because everyone was like, okay, my grandmother from my father's side was completely Herero, so she had her own tribal things, and my grandmother from my mother's side was completely different, and these two persons meet in the middle.
It's difficult.
And us as the kids growing up, we were always asking ourselves, which side do we go first?
Okay.
Because we did not speak that Damara Herero language very well, it was difficult for us to go to our grandmother on my father's side because she was always speaking that language.
Okay.
But we would always change. So my father would come back, he would take us, and then he would say, okay, you go to my mother's side this time.
Okay, so they really put in some effort so that you meet both grandparents and really get to know both cultures.
Yes. And the culture from the Herero culture, for me, it's still interesting till today. And I would still like to learn more about the Herero culture. The Damara culture, I've gone with it for the past 32 years.
Okay, that leaves the question how old you are. What would you say is the most fascinating thing about the Damara culture that also people like myself from the West can learn? Like something where you can say, Sonja, if you take that back to your culture, that's something that will help you as well.
It's quite few things, I would say. So what my mother's culture, or what I would say the Damara people, it's the open-hearted people.
Yes.
So if I have to compare the two cultures, in the Herero culture, it's completely strict. And with the Damara culture, it's kind of like you have a bit of a room to flow around.
It's very open-hearted.
It's open-hearted. So they are completely open with everyone, and they also like sharing their culture. So which is the Damara people. The Hereros are strictly on their side, and for the Herero people, they have got rules which have been there for the past 2,000-3,000 years.
But it's beautiful to also see that a culture has such pride in preserving their cultural rules. That is something that I find extremely fascinating as well.
But with the Damara cultures, at some part they are kind of like losing it.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
You have been to the Himba people.
Yes,
and they are still living the way.
The old original way, yes.
And when it comes to the Damara people, we are turning more Western. I don't know what should I say, Western. But we are
modern Western.
We are becoming more modern. So our houses look a bit different, and everyone just seems to be a bit too busy to go back to their culture.
So for you, it's important to also take the time to really be with your community and be with your family.
Yes, that is why I'm with the Damara culture, where I'm a bit afraid. That's why I always want to push many Damara people back to their roots so they can keep the culture going.
And see the beauty of having a community and having strong family ties and bonds. And that's something that, I mean, I grew up in a very Western society where families are very small and where the whole big community doesn't happen as it does here. And for me to see how closely you're linked with all your cousins, with your siblings, how everyone looks after each other, how this is one big family, how even today a lot of you live together, I find that extremely beautiful. And it's something that doesn't happen in my culture. When our parents get old, most people send them to old people's homes. They don't look after them. And it's something really beautiful to watch here, how people look after each other.
Yes, we do. We do take care of our older ones. It's what we have been taught, or what we have been learned as we are growing older, is to take care of the next person.
And you also look after your even now, I mean, you're all grown up, but you still look after your other siblings.
Yes, and my uncle as well.
Okay.
And he, as a person, is growing older. And he cannot stay by himself. So we would always bring him back to the main house. We call it the main house.
The main house, yeah.
So the main house is, in our case, it's my mom's house.
And that's here in Katatura.
That's here in Katatura. So the reason why they come back to Windhoek, it's hospital facilities are close by, and they can come and stay at our house once they reach a certain age.
Yeah, and if, for example, your uncle, who is a bushman from
from the north, from the Hainam.
From that tribe, obviously he doesn't have that much money, you would also pay for it, and it would be just the thing to do. So there wouldn't be any, oh my God, I have to pay for my uncle. You would just do it because he is your uncle and he has given you so much, so you are happy to give back now. Yes,
and that's how I would say we have been brought up.
And that's something where we Westerners can learn a lot. Just that natural giving and giving back and being there for each other. And there is no question, if your uncle needs you, you pick him up in the north, you bring him to the main house and you look after him, you pick up his hospital bills, because that's family. And that's what family does.
Yes, that's what family does, and that's what we mostly would take care of our own. So we always go back to, that is in my case, I would always go back to any of my older people that were always there in my growing up. They didn't give me material stuff.
Yeah, but they gave you a lot more.
They gave me a lot more, and I have used that, and I'm still using this. The first one that some of my people fail to do is respect the youngest person. So my older people would always go like, doesn't matter how young a person is, doesn't matter how old a person is, never differentiate your respect for anyone.
So actually, I have to change what I said before. I said you grew up in poverty, but you really didn't grow up in poverty. you maybe grew up in material poverty, but you grew up in richness of culture, love, respect, values, and a strong family that always supported you and that always had your back.
They've always been there. They were not able to support me, as I said, financially, but they've supported me with knowledge that I'm still using till today, and I'm still gonna pass it on to anyone that I meet.
Many generations to come. And I would deeply in me, I would always love or would like this, what I'm giving to someone, to use it to pass it on to the next person. Yeah, and that's something beautiful. It's sometimes in life we're lucky to receive, but it's so beautiful if we can then pass it on to someone else and allow someone else to grow with that same knowledge, with the same tools that we got given.
That's my aim, my biggest aim.
Yeah,
just to give back.
Yeah, and you have really proven that with the right mindset, anything is possible. And for people who always say, oh, but I can't do this because I was brought up in the wrong place, or I have this limitation, I have that limitation.
No, that's just excuses.
That's just excuses. And
laziness at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, laziness does not get us anywhere.
No, it does not. I've seen it a few days where I was lazy. I was like sitting and, should I do this? Yeah, later. And one thing I've also realized is time does not wait for anyone. Time just goes on and on. So 1 minute pass, you cannot get that minute back.
Yeah.
So it's always better, get up, you have to do what you have to do and just get it done with. Because always postponing something at the end of the day,
it doesn't get you anywhere.
It doesn't get you anywhere. And at the end of the day, you are sitting with such big pile of stuff that you have to do. So.
Yeah. Are you happy where you are in your life right now?
I'm okay.
You look up and you know where to go.
As I'm saying, I'm trying to go one step further. One thing I can also add is when I was working in the bar, I did not see myself grow. I was at the stop. I was not going anywhere. And it was like something that I was inside me, I was feeling as if something is stopping me. That's why I just said, okay, let me do something else. And every time I get this feeling, it's kind of like a limit. It's, okay, George, now you had enough. Now you have to go one step further.
But it was an important step for you to go here and work at the bar first. And then once you saw you couldn't grow there anymore, you asked for the next step. You opened another door, and you have been and you still are very good at just grabbing that door handle and opening the next door with a big smile on your face, getting the people around you excited and saying, can you help me open that door? And you're not asking for a lot, and you've never asked anyone for money.
No.
But sometimes you just ask for a little bit of advice or for the opportunity to show them that you're willing to learn.
Yes, the opportunity, just to show someone like, okay, look, this is what I can do. You can just give me that chance so I can prove it to you as well as to myself. Because also to myself, I have to prove it. As I have to say, okay, I have done it.
Yes, and you always deliver. You always deliver.
I've done it now. Like, okay, let me do now the next step. That's what I'm always doing. That's a feeling I got. And the first feeling I got, like, that was like, okay, George, you are stuck now. You have to go forward because this is not taking you anywhere.
Yeah, but it's good to just see that and say, okay, now I'm at a point where I need to take the next step. And also not go like, oh my God, how embarrassing, I was a barman. No, that was an important step on your journey.
It was. That is always what I say. It's just always try and challenge myself, but not too much. I always like to take small steps at a time. Okay,
why small steps?
Most people say if you take big step, it's like a big risk. Taking a smaller risk, for me, I always, before I make a huge decision, I always have to look back to, if I fail, how do I fail? Do I fail, or does my whole past people that are behind me, are they also, because I've got people that are depending on me.
Yeah, so you have to, you can't be that risky.
I cannot be that risky. At some point I'm saying, okay, I have to be risky, but at some point I have to...
You have a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I do. I do have taking care of the village. Sonia helped me there as well.
Thank you.
A cow.
Yes, that was beautiful. That was after one of our last trips together.
Yes.
I was talking to my guests and said I would like to give you a very special tip, and we didn't just want to give you money because money is something that doesn't come from the heart. So we said we will give you a cow. So we all chipped in and gave you the money to buy a cow.
Yes, and I bought the cow.
What's his name?
Now it's a lady.
It's a lady. It's a girl.
It's a she.
Okay, so she can give milk as well.
She just didn't give milk. She has provided us with four
babies.
Oh
wow!
From the time we bought her until now.
Wow! Oh my God! I'm so happy to hear that.
So that is what I've on the village, and we have to look at the village as well, and always at home.
So you have a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
I like it how you say rather take smaller step, but continuous steps.
Yes, continuous.
Because for you, if you take one big step in the wrong direction, a lot of people will be affected. So for you, it's safer to take one little step, next step, because that way you can guarantee that you will always be there for your communities, because you actually look after quite a few communities.
Yes, that is also, you have said it well, small steps, all the time. Continue going. Doesn't matter. Never stand still. So, and also, as I said, I have a bigger community. I also bring the people from the community to help each other.
Mm-hmm. So to inspire them to help each other and help themselves.
Mm-hmm. I just do not want anyone to be sitting there in open arms and just expecting something.
No. And that's also why you never give money. You teach them how to help themselves, how to help each other.
I never give them money, and they're angry with me about that, but I always tell them.
How do you react when they're angry that you don't give them money? How do you explain it to them that money doesn't help, but that it's really more the knowledge and the tools?
Money, actually, what I always tell them is money, if I give you money, it's gonna ruin you. The reason why I say that is most people drink a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
And if you just give them money, they would always not do what they are meant to do with the money.
So they just drink and then it's gone.
So they just drink it. So also the other way that I help them is I say, okay, how much have you got and what would you like to buy? I would not give you the whole amount. What I would do is I would take what you have and then I would buy what you wanted to buy.
So you help them, stock up.
I stock up and then I would buy it for them.
It's like your father has helped you.
Yes, he was a different man. He's still a different man. He doesn't give you money. He just says, okay, what have you got? Meet me halfway or meet me 3/4 of it.
Okay, so you have to put in a lot of effort yourself and then he helps you a bit.
Yes. So that is also maybe also one of the ways that I've learned is you have to give what you can up to your ability, how far you go. And then the next person sees it and they go, okay, let me just maybe open the door. Let me just give him a small push and then he will reach there. But if you're just sitting back and people are doing stuff for you, you never learn.
And there's no incentive. If you know that Uncle George will come and give us money, there's no incentive to grow and to put in some effort yourself.
Yes, you would not do that. You would just be sitting there. And once this sole person that is taking care of you is gone, then it becomes so difficult to find the next person.
Yeah.
That's maybe also one of the lessons my father was teaching me without saying it but showing. It was like, okay, go as far as you can, as hard as you can, and once you're maybe just a small push, maybe just a 10 Namibian dollars, or just someone giving you a small push and then 2 meters and then you're where you want.
But if you've already gone 70-80% and then someone helps you just with that last little bit, then you have reached the next level and then you can gather more energy and more just strength and go to yet the next level.
Yes, but if you're just sitting there with 10% and waiting on someone to give you 90%, that's never going to work.
No, and it would, maybe you find someone who gives you the 90 or even 100%, but that's not going to change you as a person. That's not going to give you also the satisfaction that you've achieved something.
And your mentality starts changing. It's like, if I sit and I just ask people to give me, it's not for a future, for a long run. If you say for a long run, it's not going to help you out. Just sitting there expecting. It's for a long run, you have to work for yourself.
Yeah, and the thing is when people always say, oh, you've been so lucky. No, you've worked hard.
Yes.
There is very little luck in life.
You have sacrificed a lot. You have sacrificed friends, times out, just to go forward. And
I mean, the amount of times that you could have gone out with your friends and just partied, and you studied at home, you stayed at home, you studied about the wildlife, you studied German, you studied how to become a mechanic, all the things you know and you can do. It doesn't come from sitting on your behind and drinking with your friends. It comes from hard work.
It comes from hard work.
And from sacrificing your off days to actually learn new skills.
Yeah, sacrifice a lot of friends. At the moment, I'm at 0 friends. I've got one friend of mine.
You have some friends.
I've got.
But close friends.
Close friends. I do not have any close friends where I can go after work and say, let's drink beer. I've got siblings. So
you have siblings, and you have a lot of people that love you dearly internationally. But
yes, internationally.
But it's difficult. You can't just quickly go to Germany, to America, and to China or Singapore. Boxing and Chloe, you remember how they always call you Georgie baby. They love you, but you can't just go over and drink a beer.
No, you cannot. So if you have to go somewhere, but I mean like close friends, like in the community. So that's where my siblings are replacing my friends. So
that's good.
I would do it either with my siblings if they are close by, and if I see they're drinking, then I said, okay, no more drinking, I'm going home. So
okay, very good.
I always also put them in a limit, and I say, okay, you guys, it's up to you, but I prefer you guys doing this. I do not tell them they have to do it. I just say, okay.
Suggesting.
Just a suggestion. You can do it this way, you can do it this way, but I don't tell them how to do it.
Yeah. So it's beginning of January now that we're doing the recording. We actually spent New Year's together. We were in Swakopmund.
Swakopmund.
It was beautiful. So thank you again for joining us for our New Year's celebration. What is your aim for 2022?
My aim for 2022. So my first thing is to finish with my German lessons because I've started taking the German classes.
So really to fine tune your German.
Yes.
I mean, it is really good already.
Just to tune it a bit, just to polish it, make it shine. And I'm doing it at the Goethe Institute, and it's an internationally known institute. So if I've got their certificate, then it's just like a resume.
And it's good for your CV.
Yes, it's good for my CV as well. And the next one is, as I said, trying to go into agriculture, just to touch up a bit, to continue with my farming. And then
for your community in the village.
Yes. And then the other one is just to give back to my community, try and give the young kids something to eat. It would not be much, but I always like
maybe
to
you
try.
Say it's not a lot, but I think you know how sometimes one plate of maize porridge can mean a lot. It's not a lot, but it actually is a lot.
It means a lot.
Yeah, it means a lot. When you're hungry, one plate means a lot.
And that is my plan for 2022 for now.
That's beautiful.
I have my fingers crossed now. And my German lessons, I believe in myself. I believe I'll ace it. I'll finish it. I'll have my paper. Agriculture-wise, I would learn it. But one thing I'm proud, I haven't started it yet, but I'm feeling already proud in me. Just the thought of giving back to my community. Yeah. And that is just the thought. I'm like, okay, I have to do it this year because I've been...
And you will.
I've been thinking about it for the past half a year. Like this year, I have to do it.
Nothing will stop you, George. You have such strong determination and you have such great vision for your life. And you do take responsible small steps, which is beautiful because that way you will succeed.
Yes.
So let's just wish you all the very best. And I can only say thank you for the friendship for the last 10 years. And there will be many, 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 many more to come. Thank you so much, George Kaingob from Namibia. And now we need to go out and have a look at those ostrich ladies because they're actually still grazing here. And let's see to find some more animals.
Yes, we've got guinea fowls coming as well.
Yeah, that's the real chickens, the Coca-Cola chickens.
The Coca-Cola chickens. So I would also say thank you for believing in me.
I truly do.
And for advising me, for pushing me in directions and just being there. Because whenever I know I would need someone, I would just pick up my phone, text and say, can we talk? And
we can always. And thank you so much for inspiring so many people with your story and with being so open about it and sharing your life story. Thank you so much, George.
You're welcome.
Do you want to say goodbye in your language so we hear a little bit more of that beautiful Click language?
So, kom daraske kain angusara niwasa. Nepke chocha Namibia bahurang huapa. Kainches.
Thank you very much. I'm just so grateful to be friends with this beautiful young man. George is such an inspiration, and I'm thankful that you also got to hear his story through this Phoenix Mindset podcast, that you were able to see what drives him, how he overcame his challenges and basically turned his challenges into massive opportunities. So do follow us, like the Phoenix Mindset podcast, comment on it, share it with your friends, and do help us grow so that we can inspire more and more people. There's a lot more in the show notes. There's some information, some links, everything you need. And do follow us. And thank you so much for being here with us today. And a big thanks, obviously, to George for being such an amazing, inspiring person.